The whistling on the Arizona Trail. In 2015, I went on a solo hike in Arizona, something I used to do whenever life became too loud to bear. Long hikes were my escape. 8 or 10 hours alone in the wilderness could quiet my mind better than anything else. That day, I found a trail so hidden, I nearly walked right past it. There was no sign, no parking area, no clear entrance. Just a faint path buried behind thick brush, as if the desert itself had been trying to swallow it back. I didn't go looking for isolated places, but I never avoided them either. I preferred silence to crowds. So when I found that forgotten trail, it felt like luck. At first, nothing seemed unusual. The path wound upward through dry brush toward a modest mountain. But the farther I climbed, the stranger the land became. Trees stood gray and dead, their bark peeling away in strips. Others had collapsed across the trail, or leaned at broken angles like they'd been twisted by something violent. It was obvious no one had come this way in a very long time. Then I heard it. A whistle. It drifted down from somewhere higher on the mountain, clear, deliberate, almost melodic. Not a bird, not the wind, a real whistle. Just a few careful notes before silence swallowed it again. I stopped cold. A shiver ran through me, but I forced myself to stay rational. Someone else had to be on the trail. That was the only explanation that made sense. So, I kept walking. About 20 minutes later, I heard it again. Same melody. This time, it was closer. Much closer. The sound settled into my chest like ice. I didn't like it, but I also refused to turn back because of some stranger whistling in the woods. I pulled out the pocket knife I always carried and kept climbing. A little farther up, a massive fallen tree blocked the trail, its branches tangled with thorns. I couldn't climb over it, so I stepped off the path to circle around. And that's when I saw the valley below. It looked like an old creek bed, dry and sunken, and in the middle of it stood a den. Not an animal nest, not storm debris. This thing had been built. Large sticks and heavy branches woven together with intention. It was too structured, too purposeful, too human. That was when the whole hike changed. The hidden trail, the dead forest, the whistling, the shelter. A horrible thought slid into my mind. What if someone was living out here? Every instinct in me screamed to leave. So I turned, and the moment I did, the whistle came again. Right behind me. I froze so hard, it felt like my heart had stopped. For one awful second, I couldn't breathe. Then I spun toward the valley, expecting to see someone standing beside that twisted shelter. Instead, I saw a goat. It stood just beyond the den, perfectly still, as if it had been waiting for me to notice it. It was larger than any goat I'd ever seen in that region. Its body looked wrong, too big, too rigid, and its eyes were locked onto me with a kind of awareness that made my blood go cold. Nothing about it made sense. Why was it here, alone, in this place? Why did it feel less like an animal looking at me, and more like something studying me? I began backing away slowly, unable to look anywhere else. Then it opened its mouth, not like a normal animal, not naturally. Its jaw parted in a slow, unnatural way, as if even the motion itself was wrong. And then it whistled. The exact same melody I had been hearing the entire time. Something inside me broke. I ran. I don't remember choosing to run. My body simply took over. I tore down that mountain in blind panic, crashing through brush, stumbling over rocks and roots, hitting the ground hard more than once. But fear kept dragging me back up. I never looked behind me. Only once, far below the trail, I heard the whistle again. Soft now, distant, echoing through the mountain like a final warning. I didn't stop until I reached the trailhead. For years, I told no one. I knew how it sounded, insane, impossible, humiliating. But after hearing stories about skinwalkers, about things that wear animal shapes and mimic sounds they shouldn't know, I found myself thinking back to that day. And no matter how many times I replayed in my head, I still can't explain what I saw. When I was a kid, my family went camping in Wisconsin every summer with close family friends. Every year, without fail, my dad and his best friend Billy took all of us kids on what they called a snipe hunt. If you know the joke, you already know the truth. Snipes aren't real. But we were children, and to us, they were absolutely real. My dad described them as vicious, bird-like creatures that hid in the trees and only came out at night. Every summer, my sister and I believed him all over again. Every summer, we were sure this would be the year we finally saw one. One evening, on the second night of the trip, Dad told us Billy had heard a snipe near the RV the night before. If anyone was brave enough, he said, we could go into the woods after dark and try to catch it. We all said yes. By the time the sun went down, every kid at the campsite was vibrating with excitement and fear. Some carried sticks. One kid brought a wooden toy sword. We thought we were going hunting. Dad led us into the woods, saying Billy had already gone ahead to scout. 10 minutes in, we heard rustling overhead. Then, Billy came crashing out of the darkness, covered in red, screaming that the snipe had attacked him. Instant chaos. Kids shrieked and scattered in every direction. I was only 8. I had no idea it was a prank. I ran as fast as I could, blind with terror, until I found a tree with a thick bush at its base. I dove into it and curled up, trying not to cry, trying not to make a sound. After a while, the forest went quiet. Slowly, I peeked through the branches. That was when I saw it. At first, I thought it was a dog. Then I looked closer. Its legs were too long, thin, and stretched in a way that didn't seem possible. Its body was patchy, covered in uneven tufts of fur over pale skin. And its head looked wrong. Not deformed in an ordinary way, twisted, almost melted, as if something had tried to make a dog from memory and gotten it horribly wrong. Then I heard the sound it was making, a low, weak moan. Not aggressive, not loud, just soft and miserable, and somehow that made it worse. I wanted to look away. I couldn't. Something about it held me there. The longer I stared, the heavier the air became, until dread settled over me so completely I could barely move. Even now, all these years later, that's the only word I have for what I felt. Dread. It was the sick certainty that I was looking at something I was never supposed to see. Then I heard my father calling my name in the distance. The creature stopped. Slowly, it turned its head and looked directly at me. I still remember that moment with perfect clarity. Its gaze didn't feel animal. It felt aware, calm, curious, old. A second later, branches snapped nearby and my father burst through the trees. He grabbed me, lifted me up, and started apologizing, scolding, and explaining all at once. that it had only been a joke, that Billy's blood was fake, that no Snipes existed. But I barely heard him. I twisted around to look back into the woods. The creature was gone. Not running, not retreating, just gone, as if it had never been there at all. On the way back, I asked my dad if maybe that was what a snipe looked like. He laughed nervously and told me no, snipes weren't real. That was the night I learned two things. Snipes don't exist, but something else does. For years, I tried to tell myself it had just been a coyote, sick, mangy, deformed, anything explainable. But deep down, I never believed that. Whatever I saw in those woods was wrong in a way ordinary animals aren't. Even now, when I'm biking or hiking alone, I still find myself glancing into the trees, and sometimes, just for a second, I think I see it again. Watching. For nearly 10 years, I lived with my wife and our 2 children in a remote cabin in Canada. It was the kind of life people romanticize. Quiet mornings, endless trees, clean air, and a world far removed from noise and traffic. No proper roads led to us, only narrow footpaths connecting our cabin to a few others hidden miles away in the forest. Over the years, those paths became our lifeline. We traded food, shared meals, and looked after one another the way remote neighbors do. We had a garden, livestock, peace, until the night that ended. Late one evening, I was alone in the living room reading when I heard the cattle outside begin to stir. Not ordinary movement, panic. The kind of restless, frantic shifting that makes you put a book down immediately. I went to the window and eased the curtain aside. The cattle were packed tightly together at the far end of the field, huddled as far from the tree line as they could get. At first, I couldn't see what had spooked them. Then, I saw it. A deer, large, motionless, half hidden beside a tree near the edge of the forest. It was facing the house. At first, I told myself it was odd, nothing more. Deer wandered through the area often enough, but something about the way it stood there unsettled me. It wasn't feeding, it wasn't wandering, it was simply watching. Eventually, I let the curtain fall and went back to my chair. A few weeks later, my wife woke me in the middle of the night. The fear on her face was enough to get me moving before she even spoke. Then I heard it. A slow, scraping sound dragging its way around the outside of the cabin, as if someone were pulling a stick along the walls. The noise moved steadily, circling the house inch by inch. One full loop, then silence. I got up, checked on the children, grabbed my hunting rifle, and moved from window to window. Nothing. Then I reached the bedroom window. There, just beyond the trees, stood the same deer, perfectly still, facing me. Something dark and instinctive settled over me. I've never been a superstitious man. I don't go looking for ghosts or legends or curses. But in that moment, I knew, with a certainty I could not explain, that something was deeply wrong. The next morning, I set out to visit one of our neighbors. Before I left, I told my wife to keep the doors locked and the children inside. The walk to his cabin took miles. I moved fast, trying to reason through everything as I went. Maybe a predator had disturbed the cattle. Maybe someone had been outside the house. Maybe exhaustion was playing tricks on me. Then, halfway down the path, I heard leaves shift behind me. I turned. The deer was standing on the trail, 15, maybe 20 feet away. This time, I saw its eyes clearly. That is the part I will never forget. There was white around the irises. The pupils were small, too small. Its eyes looked disturbingly human. Every drop of warmth left my body. I ran to my neighbor's cabin like a terrified child, half sobbing by the time I reached his door. When I told him what I had seen, I expected confusion, maybe concern, maybe an ordinary explanation. Instead, he looked at me like I had finally noticed something he already understood. Inside his cabin, he told me about old beliefs, about skinwalkers, about things that wear the shapes of animals, about presences that reveal themselves only when they choose to. What frightened me most was not what he said. It was how calmly he said it. I went home, and nothing followed me back that day. Over the next few weeks, the strange activity stopped. But it didn't matter. The damage was done. Sleep became difficult. Every sound outside sent my hand toward the rifle. Every movement beyond the trees felt deliberate. The forest no longer felt empty. It felt occupied. Eventually, we moved closer to town. I told my family it was for the children, for convenience, for a better future. That wasn't the truth. The truth was much simpler. Something had looked at me from inside the body of a deer, and after that, the woods no longer felt like home. It's been nearly 15 years. I never told my wife or children what I saw on that path, and I never told them what my neighbor believed it was. Even now, some quiet instinct inside me says I shouldn't, as if speaking too openly about certain things is enough to invite them back.